Hello everyone! Hope you're all doing okay. So in my last video I talked about some of my favourite games of the year, about 20 or so games. I didn't spend too long on each of them. I spent about 30 seconds or so on each game. And this video I wanted to talk into a little bit more in detail about my top 3. So yeah, let's go have a look. So the first one that I want to discuss is Cuphead DLC. Now, maybe some people wouldn't consider this its own game, but I absolutely do. I really think it deserves to be classed as its own thing. So basically, the original Cuphead base game came out in 2017, and this DLC came out this year, 5 years after the original release, which is quite a big gap for a DLC, and there is a very good reason for this, because it's essentially a mini sequel to the base game. It's really good. The art style is absolutely phenomenal, on par with the base game. I would say even better. Even the hand-drawn animation is absolutely gorgeous. The color palette is beautiful. The controls are so responsive. I've not played many indie games that play as well as Cuphead does. It's really good. Yeah, so in the DLC, there is only boss fights. There's no run and gun stages, like in the base game, and I think this was very intentional, because boss fights were absolutely the highlight of the original Cuphead base game, and they basically just packaged that together and made them even better. And there is actually a little side content in the form of gauntlets, basically. So these are kind of like parrying gauntlets, platforming gauntlets. So they're little challenges, essentially, for the new character, to try and get you used to how the new character plays, Miss Chalice. And let me tell you, she is a very good addition to the base Cuphead roster. So you can actually play the whole of the base game with this new character, so that adds a lot of more replay value. And yeah, it's a really well designed character. Basically, it's taken everything that the original Cuphead did right, and it's added some new stuff. So the new character has a double jump, and instead of jumping onto the pink parry objects, she can dash into them. So this might make it sound like it's almost trivializing the difficulty and the challenge, but it's really not. The new bosses that they've put in here, they're designed to be played with the new character, so they don't make it easy. They make it so that the new character kind of fits around the boss. So you can do it with the original characters, but they're absolutely designed to be played with the new character. And I really like how she plays. I think it was a great addition to the base game. I went ahead and beat the entire base game again with the new character because it was just so much fun. I would highly recommend to do that if you get the DLC. But yeah, it's just a fantastic DLC. It's a fantastic addition to the base game all round. Yeah, they've still got the awesome shoot 'em up stages in there. They've got the creative loadouts. So I wouldn't say it does anything particularly new as opposed to the base game, but it adds so much depth to the base game that it feels like it should have been always there. And that's the biggest compliment I can give to a DLC, really. It essentially feels like it should have been part of the base game, and that's fantastic. That's really good. So yeah, the final DLC boss was the most difficult S rank in the entire game too. Seriously, it took me about 10 times longer to achieve this than any other boss in the game, base game and DLC. And it's, although I say this, but it is challenging, but it doesn't need to be crushing unless you want it to be. So what I mean by that is, the game is challenging by itself if you just want to beat the game, but if you want to make it harder for yourself, you absolutely can do. You can go for those S ranks, you can get all the achievements, you can choose a loadout that's not very good to try and make it harder for yourself if you want to, or you could just play the game as it's intended and just beat the game however you want. It's basically allows you to create your own difficulty within the game, and I think that's really cool. And yeah, Cuphead is incredible. Please play this. Please play Cuphead, please play its DLC, it's absolutely amazing. Even if you don't like challenging games, I would implore you to give this a go. It's really good. Okay, on to the next game that I want to talk about is Elden Ring. So I want to start this off by saying that I was never really the biggest Soulsborne fan before playing Elden Ring, and I played Elden Ring because of the hype, kinda, and because it looks really cool. I like the art style, I like the world design, I thought it looked really fun. So I picked it up, I gave it a go, and I absolutely fell in love with this game. Oh my. This game is not just a game for FromSoft fans. Elden Ring is for everyone that enjoys gaming, and I stand by that. It's purely magical. The open world game design is absolutely fantastic. I've not had that feeling that I got from playing Elden Ring since I played Breath of the Wild 5 years ago. The open world game design is phenomenal. Basically, what I mean by this is that when you step out into the world, you can essentially do whatever you want. And the gameplay kind of carries it forward, and the open world game design essentially allows the gameplay to happen. That's how I would describe it. So you go to one place, you kind of think, yeah, this looks cool. You find another place, or you see another place in the distance, you'll go there, and essentially you go on a little journey. And it kind of allows the game to be played how you want it to be played. And this doesn't happen too often with other games that are kind of objective based, open world games that kind of give you an objective, they tell you where to go, they tell you exactly where you need to be, and Elden Ring doesn't do that at all. It just sets you off on a path, sets you off on a journey, it says here you go, do what you want basically. And this also means it's the most accessible FromSoft Soulsborne game that you can play, in my opinion, because much like Cuphead, the player can choose their own difficulty based on how they play. So essentially, you can just go do the straight main story path and beat the bosses on the way there and carry on forward like that, but it's going to be very difficult. You might not be able to do that if this is your first FromSoft game, or if you're not very good at games in general. So what they've done with Elden Ring is allowed you to challenge a boss, and if it's too hard, too difficult, you can just go and do something else. You can level up and make it easier for yourself. I think it's absolutely genius. So if you're struggling, that's okay. It's not like previous FromSoft games where you kind of just have to keep doing it and doing it until you win. You can just do whatever you want, and if it's too difficult, do something else, come back later when you're stronger, and it'll be easier. So in a sense, it's also like Cuphead, where you can choose the difficulty as you play. Depending on your experience with these games, depending on how challenging you want it to be, you can make it as hard as you want it to be. Or you can level up and make it a lot easier. It's completely up to you, essentially. There is always another way if the challenge is too high. But yeah, also the boss designs are really creative and punishing, although, as I said, the difficulty is completely up to you really. It's still a challenging game, but it is up to you how you play it. I would say the side content is also just as good as the main game. Nothing feels like side content. I played this game for 140 hours and I got every single achievement, and I would say that every single part of the world was consistently quality content, with secrets and things to discover absolutely everywhere. I don't think any part of this game was filler. None of it was filler, it was all fantastic. Everyone that I've spoken to that has played Elden Ring has took a different route. They've all played it a different way, and that is absolutely intentional. The developers did not want everyone to play this game the same, and that is very apparent. And it's almost like the game encourages you to push the mechanics to your advantage. And this might be quite familiar if you've played previous FromSoft games, but if you've never played a Soulsborne game before and you play Elden Ring, you might think that basically the game tries to make you feel clever in that it's pushing you to bend the mechanics to your will, although this is also very intentional. And I guess we can compare this to Breath of the Wild actually, in that you can push the mechanics to your advantage and you can just play around with what the developers have given you to try and push forward, and this only makes it more likely that you're going to try and bend the mechanics to your will because of the high difficulty. You're trying to progress, and you're trying to find a way to progress, especially if you're finding it difficult. It's a masterpiece of world building, open world game design, and immersion in a video game. It's fantastic. Elden Ring, it was incredible. Elden Ring was absolutely incredible. You should give this game a go, even if you don't like challenging games. As I said, same with Cuphead. just a fantastic game all round, and I think this game should be played by everyone that enjoys games. Okay, the final game is an indie game called Tinykin. Now, if you've been on my channel a little bit, you'll probably have seen me talking about this game quite a bit. I've already made a full video on this one, so I won't spend too long talking about this, but it's got to be in this video. It's my top 3 of the year, so it's got to be in here. It's got to be in here. I would say this was my personal favourite of the year, even though Elden Ring I would say is objectively the best. Tinykin it made me fall in love with it. It was just so good. If you like 3D collectathons, 3D platformers as much as I do, you gotta give this game a go. It's really, really fun. So essentially, the level design is absolutely sublime. Everything is well put together. It's well thought out. It's constantly throwing creative new ideas at you, like I guess like Mario 3D World and Mario Galaxy. Why I love those games so much is around every corner, every level, everything you do is always new ideas. It's always throwing new ideas at you, and I feel like this game did that really well. The Pikmin-inspired mechanics are fresh and creative in the 3D platforming space, so I almost feel like this could have been created by Nintendo with its high level of polish and creative mechanics, whilst also tapping into nostalgia. And I feel like Nintendo does that very well, and this game did that very well. It almost feels like, yeah, it could have been developed by Nintendo. I think that's really cool. It's developed by a small indie team. It's not super challenging, but it's not trying to be. So, whereas the previous 2 games of my favourites of the year were very difficult games, this one is absolutely not. And it's really not trying to be. It's very apparent what it is. It's basically relaxing, cozy collectathon with beautiful exploration and whimsical level design. And it's not trying to be challenging, and it's not trying to do anything crazy, but it does everything it does absolutely flawlessly. And it left such an impression on me. It's not very long, but the impression it made on me in those 10 hours that it took me to 100% complete it were immense. And yeah, as I said, I would say Elden Ring is objectively the best game I played this year, but Tinykin left such an impression on me that I had to put it at the top. It really it made me so happy. It put a smile on my face for its entire duration. The whole time I was playing this, I was really happy. It almost feels like a warm mug of hot chocolate, complete with a selection of all your favourite snacks. Tinykin is a magical game if you love 3D platformers as much as I do. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. It's very kind of you. If you did like it, if you liked listening to me speak about some of my favourite games of the year, do give it a like and consider subscribing. I tend to produce a video about once a week or so, and yeah, the next video I will be doing is going to be looking into 2023 and seeing what I'm excited about. I think it's going to be a good video. I'm excited about this one. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you all soon. Bye bye.